In this video, I will cover exactly how I got myself basically a free Tesla by using investment strategies and how you can do something similar. My name is Elias, I'm contributor and co-founder in the crypto space. I love finance, crypto and using technology to elevate your life and business. I'm not a financial advisor, therefore always do your own research, and with that being said, enjoy this video. Before we get started, time is the most valuable resource of our life. I try to make that video as compact as possible. Still, if you feel comfortable with it, feel free to watch that video in 1.25, 1.5 or even 2x speed. So to give you an understanding why I even do that video, I have to give you kind of a backstory. So recently it was time for my second car. So I owned a car previously, which was my first car ever. And now I thought, hey, it's a good timing to buy a new car. And I really want to have a new one since also my old one is completely broken down. So I looked out what kind of car I should buy, and it felt like a smart decision to get myself a Tesla. It's not only a cool car, it's also a cheap car. It's cheap to charge, and especially in Switzerland, it's a good decision. And also I think it's an investment into the right company when we look at the future. But I really felt stupid paying $50,000 upfront in cash out of my portfolio or monetary good positions, so positions which give me cash flow, for a car which looks cool, is cool, but gives me nothing monetarily back than just costs. So I really dove into what kind of opportunities are there which I can use to make that purchase better or having more capital efficiency out of that car, out of this purchase, than I originally would have if I just buy it. It did not take long until especially two names sparked my eye. One is Robert Kiyosaki, which is famous as the author of Rich Dad and Poor Dad, or the Cash Flow Quadrant, and the other one is Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone is a big investment guru out of the US, which especially focused on giving real estate opportunities to retail people, you and me. Because these two guys especially talk about an interesting formula called OPM, other people's money. Using other people's money to make such purchases or even investments which generate you cash flow. But especially interesting for me was, why don't I use other people's money to buy the Tesla while having my cash flow still up and running and paying back the loan out of my cash flow? So my whole point is that I don't want to spend $50,000 out of my portfolio, which generates me cash flow and also capital gains. So I went on the search and I found an opportunity for me how I can finance $50,000 by paying 10% interest on that $50,000 over a period of 4 years. So over a period of 4 years, I would have to pay back this $55,000, but I would keep the $50,000 in my portfolio, which can still generate me income. So I made the calculation. I have to pay $55,000 over a period of 4 years. Means I have to pay $13,750 a year and $1,150 a month. And now the big question is, how much income can I produce out of this $50,000, which I can keep now? Currently, I earn 21% on that 50K. But to be honest, I think I cannot sustain that 21% over the period of 4 years. Therefore, I split it in half. So I currently calculate with 10.5%. With 10.5%, I would make $21,000 over the period of 4 years. This results in $5,250 a year and $437.50 a month. You can already see that I would save around 40% on the Tesla purchase if I would do it like that. But the most interesting thing is actually about to come. Because I don't buy myself a Tesla with that borrowed money, actually. I buy myself the opportunity to invest in the most interesting times that we've seen since decades. I'm talking about the recession, ladies and gentlemen, which is upcoming. Everyone sees it coming. And I want to have my liquidity to be able to place myself in the most interesting asset markets in this interesting time. Benefit from capital gains every investor is dreaming about. And therefore, this Tesla will most likely be for free. So let's make the calculations together. I don't want to even cover the price levels that we might see in the next recession and the price levels we could now buy into with our liquidity that we saved. But I just want to point out how it would have gone last bull cycle with Bitcoin and make the calculations based on that. So if we would spend $50,000 upfront on the Tesla, we would have a capital burn of 100%. Means we would just burn $50,000. If we would do the yield strategy, we would earn $21,000 over the period of 4 years, which gives us capital burn of 58%, because we would still have to pay $29,000 for that Tesla in our cash. Obviously, we would save 42% in money, so Tesla is way cheaper. It's not $50,000, it's $29,000, but still, it's a lot of money. And now we will go into the magic. We will talk about the combination of the yield and the dollar cost average strategy. Obviously, there are way more strategy that we could have done with that. There are strategy also with dollar cost averaging out of the yields that we generate and so on. But we will just cover the basic strategy here, where we use 50% to dollar cost average into the market. We're talking about Bitcoin and we're taking the reference of the last bull cycle, and 50% will be used for the yield strategy to just generate income next to the dollar cost averaging strategy. So you obviously can already calculate 50% of the other yield strategy, since only $25,000 will be used for the yield strategy. So there will be $10,500 generated over a period of 4 years for that yield strategy. And now we're coming to the most interesting part, dollar cost averaging over a certain period. All right, so let's jump quickly into the chart. What we see here is the Bitcoin chart. The Bitcoin chart over a long period of time. The interesting thing with Bitcoin is that we saw some similarities coming up over the past 8 years that we already saw. And we saw some similarities also, especially covering the Bitcoin halvings. So the Bitcoin halvings is an event which happens all 4 years. All 4 years, the distributed amount of Bitcoins per block gets halved. That's why we call it halving. Every block, let's say 5 Bitcoins, get distributed. After 4 years, we will halve that, so only 2.5 Bitcoins get distributed per block. That's how the original founder, Satoshi Nakamoto, that founder of Bitcoin, wanted to make Bitcoin a scarce asset. So he said, we don't want to have hyperinflation on Bitcoin. We want to keep it scarce. We also want to cap it to a fixed amount, 21 million Bitcoins. That's the maximum of Bitcoins which can get produced. And therefore, we also saw historically a great price increase after these halvings. So the next halving is actually coming up in 2024. And we want to make our dollar cost average strategy based on the history of Bitcoin. What we saw is always that we had a huge price increase after a halving, always after some period of time, interestingly. And we saw that same here in 2020, same time, same halving, and so on. The next halving is coming up in 2024. Means for us an interesting time to probably dollar cost average into Bitcoin. We will just look at historical data of the last bull run to evaluate what interesting times we could probably choose to dollar cost average into the market. So the next halving is approximately in April 2024. Therefore, we want to place ourselves correctly into the market, obviously before that. So I made two sections that we historically saw over the period of the bull run 2020-21, how we can dollar cost average into the market and how we can dollar cost average out. And then we can see just these periods and take it over to the next bull run or the next bull cycle in 2024, or the halving, better said, in 2024, to evaluate our get in and get out times. So let's quickly see that. I made a dollar cost average year in 2020, so it started actually in 2019 and went until end of 2020, and in this period of time we were just dollar cost average into the market. After that, I made a dollar cost average out year, right? So we go out of the market in this period of time. This is following exactly after each other. So after we went into the market, we start to get out again. This is just, I think I'm not a good enough trader to get into the market at a certain point. Like at right here, and get out right here, because I'm just not that good of a trader. That's why I made these kind of safety bets. Over that period, we would accumulate $25,000 of Bitcoin over a period of 1 year at an average price of approximately $8,000 to $10,000, right? And the interesting thing is now we would sell Bitcoin over 1 year at a price of approximately $40,000. This would obviously result in a 400% return on investment. So historically, out of our $25,000, we would make $100,000. Do you see how crazy this actually is? Out of $25,000, we would make $100,000. Also taking in consideration that would make obviously $10,000 in yields, we would end up with $110,500 at the end of these 4 years. We don't consider that we would have been able to pay back the loan or the borrowed amount earlier, so we would probably even save some costs. But at the end, it really doesn't matter anymore because we have so much more money accumulated over that period of time. But to make it more practical, we can now duplicate that, place it on here, and we can see exactly our dollar cost average in and our dollar cost average out kind of time frame for the next bull market. This is it for this chart right now. I really hope that I were able to give you an insight what kind of areas I would look out on. So it would really start in October, right? Or in November, end of October, beginning of November in 2023. Also my section to definitely do dollar cost average into the market then, but I am actually already doing it. So that's clear for me. So in this example, I showed you how I would get away with 120% plus on that trade, since I were able to dollar cost average into the market and still make my yield position, or still have my yield position generating me passive income, which I could hardly even use to pay back the loan. I have to point out again that this strategy is high risk. We're talking about loans, we're talking about borrowed money, which you use to buy yourself a vehicle. We're talking about high risk investments. We're talking about speculative currencies and so on. So therefore, always do your own research on these kind of investments. Always do your own research on also borrowing money. You really should have a clear game plan to do such stuff, as I had and I still have. And my game plan is really clear, and I really hope that I were able to give you a brief insight in my game plan and how I am approaching markets actually at the moment. With that being said, I really hope that you liked this video and you could learn something out of it. And if you did so, I would really appreciate a thumbs up or a comment under this video. Let me know what you would like to see next, and I'm really looking forward to see you soon in the next video of DYOR. See you then, have a great one, bye bye.